Do you think salt is just a seasoning? Think again. It holds one of the greatest spiritual secrets in the Bible. The shocking secret about salt in the Bible has been hiding in plain sight, but most people have never realized its true power. It was used in covenants, sacrifices, and even spiritual battles. But why? What did God reveal about this sacred element? If you've never heard about this before, get ready. What you're about to discover today might completely change your spiritual perspective and strengthen your faith. Stick around until the end, because this truth could change everything. Now tell me, are you ready to uncover the shocking secret about salt in the Bible? Most people have no idea, but salt hides one of the greatest spiritual secrets in the Bible. It's not just an ordinary seasoning. It carries a deep meaning that can transform your spiritual life. What many Christians don't realize is that salt was used in sacrifices, covenants, and even in spiritual battles to bring victory and purification. And what if I told you that salt has a hidden power capable of breaking curses, restoring environments, and even driving away demonic influences? Yes, the Bible itself reveals this, but very few people pay attention to these details. From the Old Testament to the words of Jesus Christ, salt has always played a crucial role in God's plans. But why did HE place so much importance on it? And more importantly, are modern Christians unknowingly neglecting one of the greatest symbols of spiritual authority? If you've ever faced spiritual struggles like blockages, oppression, or even unexplainable difficulties, maybe what's missing is a proper understanding of the prophetic use of salt. And the most shocking part? This knowledge has been right in front of us all along, yet hardly anyone talks about it. In this video, we're going deep into the true meaning of salt in the Bible and uncovering truths no one has ever told you before. You'll discover how biblical prophets used it, why it's such a powerful weapon in spiritual warfare, and most importantly, how you can apply this secret in your daily life to strengthen your faith and your spiritual journey. Get ready. This will completely transform the way you see things. Salt is much more than just a seasoning. It carries a spiritual power that many overlook. In the Bible, it appears as a sacred element, used for both purification and sealing covenants with God. But just as it can be a tool for blessings, it has also been used in rituals for evil purposes. Jesus Christ himself called his followers the salt of the earth, emphasizing the believer's role in preserving faith and fighting against darkness. Understanding this symbolism is crucial for anyone who wants to strengthen their divine authority and resist demonic influences. Since ancient times, salt was used in sacrifices and offerings to God as a symbol of consecration and an everlasting covenant. Biblical prophets like Elisha used salt to purify contaminated waters, demonstrating its spiritual power. This teaches us that salt is not just a physical element, but holds deep significance in spiritual warfare. Many Christians unknowingly face invisible battles against witchcraft and curses, battles that can be overcome through consecration and the prophetic use of salt. Even today, salt is still used for spiritual protection, often without people fully understanding its true value. The Bible teaches that it can be a powerful weapon against demonic influences and spiritual attacks. But are we truly applying this knowledge in our faith journey? Just as King David achieved victories in the Valley of Salt, believers today can also experience spiritual triumphs by understanding and applying biblical principles about this powerful element. Salt was not created by chance. It has a divine purpose that runs throughout the biblical narrative. From the Old Testament, we see its presence in sacred rituals, symbolizing purification and commitment to God. In temple sacrifices, salt was added to offerings as a sign of an eternal covenant. This detail may seem minor, but reveals something profound. Everything dedicated to God must be sealed with purity and faithfulness. The Creator himself established this principle, showing that a strong spiritual life requires commitment and separation from worldliness. The biblical prophets understood this mystery and applied salt in prophetic ways. One striking example is Elisha, who threw salt into the bitter waters of Jericho, turning them into a source of life. 2 Kings 2 verses 19 to 22. This act was not just symbolic for that city. It represents God's power to reverse spiritually contaminated situations. If a prophet could purify physical waters with salt in those times, imagine the impact its proper application can have on a Christian spiritual life today. Many believers are fighting invisible battles without realizing they hold a sacred element that can seal blessings and break curses. This connection between salt and spiritual principles makes us reflect. Are we truly using everything God has given us to win spiritual battles? The Bible shows us that salt is far more than a simple ingredient. It is a symbol of commitment, consecration, and victory. But how does this relate to the message of Jesus Christ and his call for us to be the salt of the earth? When Jesus Christ said, "You are the salt of the earth," Matthew 5, verse 13, he wasn't just using a beautiful metaphor. In that context, salt symbolized a transformative influence that his followers were meant to have on the world. Just as salt prevents food from spoiling, Christians are called to preserve truth and fight against darkness. In times of intense spiritual warfare, where demonic influences infiltrate every aspect of life, being salt means acting with divine authority, standing firm against temptation, and resisting the evil that tries to spread. But here's an important detail. Jesus also warned that salt can lose its flavor, and when that happens, it becomes worthless. This means that faith can grow weak if it is not constantly nourished. Many Christians live without fully understanding their spiritual identity, allowing circumstances to shape them instead of shaping the world around them. Just as salt was an essential part of offerings to God in the Old Testament, believers must present themselves as living sacrifices, staying consecrated and avoiding practices that corrupt their faith. Being the salt of the earth is not just a beautiful calling. It's a responsibility that requires commitment and action. This leads to a deep question. Are we truly fulfilling our role as salt, or have we allowed our spirituality to become dull and tasteless? This reflection connects us with the significance of salt throughout history and how it's been used not only in biblical contexts, but also across different cultures and time periods. Salt has always had a value far beyond the kitchen. In ancient Rome, it was so precious that soldiers were paid partly in salt, which is where the word salary comes from. But its importance wasn't just economic. In many cultures, salt was used in spiritual rituals as a symbol of purification and protection against evil forces. Ancient civilizations believed it could ward off demonic influences and even seal spiritual covenants. This shows that humanity has long recognized its power, even if not everyone fully understood its true biblical meaning. In Jewish tradition, salt was an essential part of offerings and sacrifices presented to God, playing a crucial role in worship. The Temple of Jerusalem itself used salt for consecration and purification in its rituals. The biblical prophets understood its importance because they knew that salt was not just an ordinary ingredient. It was a symbol of commitment, holiness, and covenant with the Creator. While many today see it as nothing more than a kitchen staple, the ancients understood that it carried deep spiritual significance. The big question is, are we seeing salt merely as a seasoning, or do we recognize its spiritual symbolism and power in spiritual warfare? If this element was used for protection and purification in ancient times, how much more relevant is it now, when we face even greater spiritual challenges? This makes us reflect on how the Bible commanded its use in sacred covenants and acts of consecration. The use of salt in the Bible goes far beyond mere symbolism. It carries a spiritual weight that few truly understand. In Leviticus 2, verse 13, God commands that all offerings be seasoned with salt, representing a perpetual covenant between him and his people. This detail teaches us that everything offered to God must go through a process of purification. Salt, with its preserving properties, illustrates the eternal commitment that the Lord desires to establish with those who follow him. It is not just an ingredient, but a sacred element that seals blessings and strengthens spiritual covenants. Beyond its use in sacrifices, salt also appears in moments of purification in the Bible. One of the most striking episodes is when the prophet Elisha used salt to heal the bitter waters of Jericho, 2 Kings 2 verses 19 to 22. This passage shows us that, when consecrated to God, salt has the power to transform what is contaminated. Many Christians face bitter waters in their lives, spiritual struggles, generational curses, and evil influences. The biblical principle teaches that consecration and the prophetic application of salt can be used as a spiritual act to restore areas affected by darkness. But how can we bring this practice into modern times? Just as the ancients used salt to seal covenants and purify environments, Christians can pray over and consecrate salt, asking God to make an instrument of protection and spiritual victory. But do we truly understand the real power of this element in spiritual warfare? This leads us to reflect on its use in the battle against evil forces and witchcraft. Now that you know the spiritual secret of salt, the real question is, what will you do with this knowledge? The Bible doesn't reveal deep truths just for them to be admired. It reveals them to be applied. If salt carries such powerful significance, have you been using the spiritual weapon in the right way? Is your life, home, and family spiritually protected? Or have you been leaving open doors for the enemy to act? The choice is in your hands. Will you continue to ignore this principle, or will you use it to transform your faith journey? If there's one thing we've learned from biblical prophets and the words of Jesus Christ, it's that salt is not just a symbol. It is an instrument of purification, protection, and covenant. So, why not put this knowledge into practice? Consecrate your life to God, strengthen your faith, and if you feel led, use salt and prayer to break evil influences and seal your blessings. And remember, spiritual warfare is real, and those who do not understand the weapons that God has given them end up fighting empty-handed. Are you ready to use this wisdom and claim your spiritual victory? If this video resonated with you, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you can continue learning about the mysteries of the Bible. Leave a comment below. Had you ever heard about the spiritual power of salt? How do you plan to apply this knowledge in your life? Share this content with someone who needs to hear this, and let's grow spiritually together